I want to run a new personal best at the marathon, which means at 52 I have to run faster than when I was 22 years old. So how do we get faster when we get older? Let's find out.
If anyone knows the answer to this question, it's sports scientist Brendan Lombard, who works as a strength and running coach for Flat Rock Endurance.
Come on, Julia, let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. She's 33 years old, but she still has a lot of potential to go faster. I'm 35 years old, and it's starting to get a lot harder to become faster. That's why I stick to the long stuff. As we age, our endurance is able to stay, provided we train it.
I was young when I ran that PR. I know now I'm old. So when was I at my best?
We're at our peak when we are about 28 years old. After that, we tend to lose our speed and become a bit weaker. There are three distinct phases with regards to athletes aging and the loss of speed. Phase 1, typically characterized by a slow decline in speed, which happens between the ages of 28 to 35. Phase 2, which happens a little bit faster, is in between the ages of 35 to 50. And as the athlete reaches the age of 50, phase 3 occurs, where speed loss happens exponentially faster. When we age, there are a myriad of things that occur within the human body that results in our performance being lessened. Things like sarcopenia, which is a loss of muscle mass. This occurs from around the onset of 28-30 years old and gets progressively worse. Fast twitch fibers tend to decrease in their capacity in terms of firing rates. Fast twitch fibers are the muscle fibers within the body that allow for explosive, powerful, fast movements. And general muscle atrophy also causes performance to decline. When we age, various things happen within the human body that contribute to things like sarcopenia, which is loss of muscle mass. Things like a reduced production of growth hormone as well as testosterone, as well as the mitochondria's density within our muscle cells. Now, the mitochondria are cells which are responsible for energy production. And as these also become less and less, to an extent they will reduce our ability to have a high endurance capacity. VO2 max in runners is basically the body's ability to uptake oxygen and use it efficiently to deliver a performance, or rather to increase our performance as endurance athletes. VO2 max is commonly measured in milliliters per kilogram per minute, and the higher an athlete's VO2 max, the better their performance will be. VO2 max declines with age due to a variety of factors. Something perhaps as simple as sarcopenia, loss of muscle, can contribute towards this because there is less oxygen moving around the body. When we look at performance and VO2 max in older athletes, it does decline, in my opinion, mostly due to, well, if I could compare it to something, it's like wear and tear. The body is not able to utilize oxygen the way it used to because the engine is a bit tired. Stroke volume is how much blood gets pumped around the body with a single heartbeat. In athletes, our stroke volume naturally declines as we age due to a variety of factors. One being that our maximum heart rate reduces as we age. So for example, if we look at a young athlete at an age of around 20, we could perhaps assume that their maximum heart rate would be anywhere in the region of between 200 and 220. However, as we age, that declines to anything between what could be 150 to 160, maybe 170 at most in some older athletes. So the ability of the heart to pump blood around the human body decreases. As athletes age, their VO2 max will decrease due to a decrease in stroke volume as well as maximal heart rate. And the way that I can explain this is that as one's maximum heart rate decreases, so will their stroke volume. Reason being, the heart can only beat so many times per minute to send that oxygenated blood around the body to help working muscles contract efficiently. A low stroke volume and a lower heart rate essentially means less speed when we look at endurance sports, due to the fact that there's not enough oxygenated blood being transported around the body to produce that amount of force at a given rate. However, this is different in sprinting sports, where a lot of the time muscle contractility happens in the absence of oxygen or in the lack of oxygen. As an athlete ages, naturally their training will have to change to make sure that we can still get the best out of them. When an athlete reaches the age of around 28, or rather between 28 and 35, it may become of more importance now to focus even more on including strength training within the plan, as well as potentially increasing recovery time between harder bouts of training. When we look at athletes that reach the age of 35 and are going beyond 50, and the way that they need to start training, we can look at how we cycle harder bouts of training. For example, we may not throw in 2 to 3 hard interval sessions during a week, but we might throw in 1 or 2. However, the structure of those interval sessions or harder bouts of training may also have to change. And the way that we would change this is perhaps spending less time at intensity with longer recovery bouts with in between, or even adding in an extra recovery day to make sure that the athlete is able to recover from these harder sessions of training. It is important to note, however, that these harder sessions are still needed in order to develop speed, but also keep up as much speed as we can while aging. The old saying of use it or lose it. As athletes age, what we also seem to find is that the athlete's ability to figure out where they are in space in terms of using their senses, such as balance or proprioception for the scientists out there, the ability to use these mechanisms diminishes to a degree. So it is important to keep training these mechanisms. Now, how do we do this? Get into the gym, make sure that you are doing things on one leg, for example, unilateral exercises. The effect of aging could potentially even be reversed by getting into the gym, in terms of not only making sure that we have longevity of performance, but increasing our performance as we age. Important to note, however, though, it also comes down to how we are lifting in the gym. You do not have to go into the gym and do 5 sets of 20 reps or anything like that. What the athlete should be focusing on is heavy lifts with low repetitions. By doing this, we're not only making sure that our bones stay dense or become more dense, we're also making sure that we are combating sarcopenia and muscle atrophy to the best that we can by including resistance training. On top of that, it is also absolutely important to monitor your nutrition and what you are taking in as an aging athlete. If you are not hitting your protein markers and you're not getting enough fuel for the work required, you are not going to be putting your best foot forward in terms of mitigating the aging process and the decline in performance. Our tendons seem to get stiffer as well when we age. How do we combat this? For example, yoga. Yoga is a great mechanism for, making sure that we maintain mobile or move through a range of motion dynamically and stretching dynamically through a range of motion. Dynamic meaning moving.
It sounds like my best days are far behind me, but maybe there is hope. Because when I ran that PR when I was 22, the only thing I did was running. Nobody talked about strength training, maybe some intervals, but I just went out and ran. I never trained structured. Also, gels didn't exist. If you ran a marathon, you would get maybe a piece of banana, and if you were lucky, a piece of orange, and that was all you got for those 4 hours. So maybe if I follow a structured plan, I can actually beat that personal best.
Following a structured training plan is of absolute paramount importance to make sure that an athlete can achieve their goals. Running is like building a house. You have to have that foundation first, which is often characterized by just simple running, spending time on your legs, increasing your body's aerobic capacity. Then what we do is we put up the walls of the house, which is what we call specificity of training. Specificity of training meaning we are training things like speed, one's ability to run hills, speed endurance, things like that. Once the walls have gone up and the athlete has developed these abilities, we put on the roof of the house, which is when we taper and peak for a race, which is characterized by reducing an overall training volume, meaning how much the athlete is training, and we make sure that they are fresh for race day.
So that's it. Work on my speed.
Work on my flexibility. Work on my balance. Work on my strength.
And rest. So personal best, here I come.